Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button, also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, and the Patreon family. We are working. Now, also shout out to ringtv.com. I have linked in the description. Very interesting article, editorial, and this is from some quotes from a recent interview with Sergey Kovalev, and he had a lot to say. I told you guys in January this wasn't going to be a good year for a lot of y'all. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Now, let me first start off what Kovalev said, and then I'll chime in. Kovalev said, in the war fight, I don't remember anything from the middle of the second round on. He says, I woke up from the right hand by Andre Ward in the 8th round. I don't know what was wrong with my body during the fight. Then he was talking about the quote-unquote low blows, which were really the belt line. I felt like it was a street fight, but we are fighting under boxing rules. I've never punched below the belt because I understand that here in the US and everywhere else I would get disqualified. What has happened, happened. It's already history. It was like a bad dream. I woke up. Now I want to continue my career. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. He's talking about his former coach, and he does make it official that John David Jackson is not in his team anymore, or his trainer. And I knew that. I mean, if you listen to my video, John David Jackson was going in on him. You know what I mean? On that interview recently that everyone was talking about. So I knew, I mean, after that, it's kind of hard to bury the hatchet and go back to that when the blood is that bad or whatever. But Kovalev says, it's funny, but I don't need a coach. All this time with John David Jackson, I got nothing from him. Everything. My preparation was constructed by myself. Jackson wouldn't help me. A coach should help you inside the ring between rounds when you have a minute to rest, to explain or help you with tactics. I know when and where to punch since I began boxing at 11 years old. I had thoughts for a while about splitting with Jackson. He says, I read what Jackson had said about me, but in Russian media. Someone translated what he has said to Russian. I don't want to say any bad words about him. He's a nice guy. He's not the coach for me. He might be a good trainer and a good guy. I need a teacher who will take me to the next level. Right? He also says, I want a coach that will increase my level in boxing. I'm looking forward to being the best for myself. I want to show that I could be the best I can be as a boxer. I was in the best shape before the fight, but somehow something happened to me inside the ring. I was very relaxed. I was nervous. I was surprised something happened. I'm not broken mentally. I'm still strong on the inside. Everything is good. Now, again, new media. To me, this is corroborate. All the people who were saying low blows and stuff like that, I told you guys, Ward won the fight and Kovalev was not equipped to beat Ward. That's just what it is. And I told you immediately after the fight, if you really believe that Kovalev, the only thing wrong with him was he was getting hit so low, and that's why he was losing the fight, or that's why he got counted out, or the fight stopped because of low blows, then you're sadly mistaken. And I told you back then, and I'm gonna say it again, that his next move should clear that up. Because if, let's say I'm Kovalev, and I felt it had nothing to do with me losing the fight. I was still in the fight. I was mentally strong. I was ready. But a guy cheated, like the fans were saying, like a lot of YouTubers were saying, like people writing articles were saying, commenters were saying, then why take a tune-up? Why take a guy that Sullivan Barrera beat when Sullivan Barrera is with Main Events along with Kovalev, and they were in negotiations to talk, and that was short-lived, and they chose Shabransky, who's with Golden Boy. Why did you pick the guy that Sullivan Barrera beat when Sullivan Barrera is on a 3-win streak since the Andre Ward loss? Plus, he has the experience from the Andre Ward loss, and he stopped Shabransky, knocked him down, I think, 3 times, and stopped him. Then he fought someone else on the HBO Latino, and then he broke Joe Smith Jr.'s jaw when Joe Smith Jr. had been doing good and actually knocked him down. but had been doing good in his career, stopped from far in 1 round and is the only one to stop Bernard Hopkins. So clearly Sullivan Barrera has more steam and momentum than Shabransky. Yet in November, Kovalev is facing Shabransky. Clue number 1 that, again, if you only lost because someone cheated and you really believe that, why do you need a tune-up? Why wouldn't you go for the best available? The Adonis Stevenson, Sullivan Barrera, Artur Beterbiev, rematch from the amateurs. Why wouldn't you go with that? Plus, this is my opinion, what Kovalev is saying sounds very screwy. Like, you just go to the article and you can read. He says, I was in the best shape before this fight, but something happened to me inside the ring. I was very relaxed. I was nervous. I was surprised something happened. Like, that sounds like a complete contradiction. I was very relaxed. I was nervous. Like, I don't even understand what that means. How can you be relaxed but nervous? You know what I'm saying? It's usually one or the other. So to me, this is actually pretty frightening for Kovalev, because I think part of Kovalev, what makes him a good fighter, was his confidence. And it sounds like the confidence is now chipped away at. It sounds like he's talking about, I train well, but I don't know what happened from the 2nd round to the middle rounds until Ward caught me with that right hand. Like, how do you just black out in the middle of fight? You know what I mean? I'm not understanding this. I don't understand how you were saying you were relaxed, but you're very nervous. So to me, that's all over the place. And now you're saying you don't need a trainer? Sounds pretty crazy. And to me, at least, it sounds crazy. And it sounds like Kovalev. See, I told you guys before, and I could tell from the excuses being made, it is so much easier when you come to grips with the loss. Like, you just accept it, own it, man up, and be like, man, he's an Olympic gold medalist. He got me, right? But all this, and then like now separating from a longtime trainer and saying, I'm not going to say nothing bad, but he didn't teach me anything. Now I don't need a coach. I did hear that Kovalev might team up with Joel Diaz. I don't know if it will happen, but I don't know. These to me aren't good warning signs, and I would not be surprised one bit if Kovalev, even if he beats Shabransky, if he doesn't look like the destroyer that Crusher was before the Ward fights. I think the Ward fights have taken some damage off of Kovalev, where like before, when he was knocking out Nathan Cleverly, Jean Pascal, Ishmael Salak and stuff like that, he was looking very destructive. You know what I mean? Minus the Blake Caparella knocked him down, but he came back to stop him. You know what I mean? Cedric Agnew, he was looking very, very hungry and stuff. I would not be surprised one bit if after all this turmoil and all this Ward fights, he looks a lot more human, meaning like the Shabransky fight could be a war. Shabransky might even beat him. Shabransky can punch. You know what I mean? It just depends on what skill level Shabransky's beating. But to me, Kovalev sounds all over the place, talking about I don't need a coach. He never showed me nothing. And the other thing is, like I said, as a man, you got to come to grips with your mistakes, because they did the HBO special, and I've heard interviews with John David Jackson. He says he was not allowed to talk in the corner, right? They had a Russian trainer or sub-trainer or whatever, and he could only say certain things at certain intervals, or after a certain round he couldn't really speak. So for Kovalev in this Ring TV interview, him saying I don't need a coach, all this time with John David Jackson, I got nothing from him. Everything, my preparation was constructed by myself. Jackson wouldn't help me. A coach should help you inside the ring between the rounds. To me, I'm more inclined to believe John David Jackson. I mean, why would he lie about not having the authority as a trainer to speak in between the rounds? Like, how does he benefit? And this was before he did that tell-all interview. You know what I'm saying? And I really feel like this is a bad sign for Kovalev, because, again, getting past a loss, the first step is accepting it. Just like substance abuse, if you're a drug addict or an alcoholic, your family can want for you to get clean all they want, but ultimately the person who is an alcoholic or who's on drugs, they have to want to clean up their life. Otherwise, it starts internally. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And him talking about not needing a trainer and Jackson wouldn't help me, that doesn't seem right. You know what I mean? That doesn't seem to to me doesn't seem right. I don't see why Jackson would lie about not being able to speak to Kovalev. So whatever reason it looked, and he said I thought about splitting with Jackson for a while. So maybe it was rocky for a minute. You know what I mean? Just like a marriage where you could tell is ultimately headed for divorce. They're sleeping in separate beds from, you know what I mean, for months, and maybe even different locations, stuff like that. It sounds like the relationship got rocky. But to me, I think Kovalev's biggest thing is it sounds like he's still making excuses, and it sounds like he's still blaming everyone else. And that's not, I'm telling you, man, as a man, that's not the way to go. That's not the way to do it, because if you admit what you did wrong, then you have a chance. You have a fighting chance. But if you just look and view the world as everybody else set me up and Jackson wasn't there for me, and it's the referee and Tony Weeks and Andre Ward, you know, I don't know. I just don't see that being a good look. And like I said, I won't be surprised if we don't see the Crusher in that next fight, because the one thing I know about psychology is you can say whatever you want externally, but in your heart, if you don't really believe it, if you don't truly believe what you're saying, then it's still gonna plague you. You know what I'm saying? So you could give all the hour, oh, I'm back and I just want to get back in the ring. You could do all that, but if you really in your heart know you were zapped and tired in that war fight, and you're still blaming on low blows, it sounds good as a cop out and an excuse, but at the end of the day, you know what's up, and you in your heart know what happened. And I heard Sergey Kovalev smoke cigarettes and drinks. I'm not gonna say heavily because I don't know him, but Virgil was kind of alluding to heavy drinking, but we'll just say drinking. So I mean, maybe that has something to do with your stamina instead of blaming everybody. But we'll see. We'll see if he comes in true form and he looks like the Crusher this November versus Shabransky. I'm definitely going to be watching. I definitely think he should get a trainer. I mean, they're there for a reason. I understand it's an extra bill, but sometimes you need a second opinion, because you're in there fighting, so you can see what you can see, but an experienced trainer, they might be able to see something you're doing wrong. It's just a second set of eyes. But me personally, I don't like how Kovalev seems to be taking this whole situation. I don't need a trainer, and still griping about the low blows. Like, listen, the other issue with the low blows is this, for me, is this. Kovalev was posting a bunch of memes. He was like, I will destroy Andre Ward. I will end his boxing career. You know what I'm saying? He was doing all this like Ivan Drago type talk, right? A Russian character, and he's Russian. Doing all, if he does, he does. You will lose. You know what I mean? Doing all this tough talk. So in boxing, if a man's hitting you low, you hit him low until you both get disqualified or both get a point. And most people don't just DQ you right away with something like that. You know what I mean? You get stern warnings and soft warnings, and then they'll DQ you. And again, if he's doing it and creating and starting it, then you go low. And then the ref will be forced to kind of like mediate the action and the tension. Just like Edwin Rodriguez and Andre Ward, that's a perfect example. In that early rounds, Jack Reese had to restore the order and calm both of them boys down, because Ward and Rodriguez were making it like a real rugged, like Kovalev was saying, a street fight. They were fighting nasty, and Ward has that temperament. Like if Edwin Rodriguez did something foul, already miss weight the next day too, and he's doing dirty things, then Ward's gonna retaliate. That's what you're supposed to do. And Kovalev didn't do that. He like folded up and got all crunched and hunched over and was spilling about in the ring. That's not what you're supposed to do, and that's not what you were saying. You were saying that you will destroy him and you're gonna end his boxing career. So why are you mad about a street fight? I thought that's more of your style than Andre Ward. You said Andre Ward hits like a 15-year-old girl. So it seems like you being the Crusher of street fight would be more up your alley than it is Andre Ward's. If that's the case, you said he slaps with his punches and he hits like a 15-year-old girl, and if he tries to clinch, you're gonna break his arm. And again, you go, oh, you're hate. I'm not hating. This is all truthful things that Kovalev said. Like I said, if someone wants to hate, they'll make stuff up. I'm not making this up. Kovalev said that. Oh, if Ward tries to overly clinch, I'll break his arm. But you're the first one griping and complaining when it turns into a street fight. You know what I mean? And I really don't think it was the low blows. I think those were belt line shots, and he was just ultimately overwhelmed. and his confidence was zapping because Ward came with a better strategy, and he didn't have the same chronological order that he had in the first fight, where boom, second round, beautiful counter, and Ward's dropped and hurt. Ward didn't get dropped and hurt in the second fight, so he started getting more and more discouraged as the fight wore on, and Ward was just overall better game plan, focused, and he started breaking Kovalev down mentally. So I think, me personally, I just think Kovalev has some soul searching to do, and you can't blame everybody. You know what I mean? You can't blame everybody for shit that you're probably, at the very least, partially responsible for. That's my honest opinion. But I'll check out his next fight, Kovalev and Shabransky. Like I said, with everything considered, I would not be surprised if he's like, you know what I'm saying, if he looks like a different fighter, because that's what happens when you have that aura of invincibility, that confidence, and or people see vulnerabilities. I mean, look at Roy Jones, and I rate Roy Jones over Kovalev and a ton of people currently. But as soon as Antonio Tarver knocked him out, what happened when Glenn Johnson fought him very next fight or whatever? He got knocked out again. But from 1988 to 2003-ish, Roy Jones was like Mr. Untouchable. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be surprising and interesting to see what happens next for Kovalev. I will watch the fight and give you my post-fight, but I don't really like this talk from Kovalev. You guys listen to the article, go read it. Link in the description. Let me know your thoughts. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.